Welcome back to Midnight Affair Tales. Thank you for joining us. The bed was cold. I reached across the sheets but Savannah wasn't there. My hand touched nothing but empty space, the silk covers slightly wrinkled where she had been. My heart pounded as I squinted at the alarm clock, 3:47 a.m. Where the hell was she? My mind raced as I sat up, glancing around the dimly lit bedroom. Savannah had gone to her ex's party tonight. A party I had expressly told her I wasn't comfortable with. She had laughed it off, rolling her eyes. Oh, come on, Tyler. It's just a party. Lucas and I are just friends now. I had let it go. I didn't want to be the insecure husband. But now she wasn't home and my gut was screaming that something was wrong. I reached for my phone, my fingers shaking as I checked our texts. My last message to her was at 11:15 p.m. Me, hey, you coming home soon? Savannah, having fun. I'll be late. That was hours ago. I gritted my teeth, unlocked her location tracking on my phone and my breath caught. She was still at Lucas's house. That's when I saw it. A text notification lit up her phone on the nightstand. It was from a saved contact under a fake name, but I recognized the number. Lucas. Last night was unforgettable. Wish you could stay longer. The room spun around me. My fingers tightened around the phone. My vision blurred with pure, ice-cold rage. Had she really done this? Had she really spent the night with her ex? I clenched my jaw. My mind screamed 1,000 things at once, but only one question mattered. What the hell am I going to do about it? Savannah walked through the door at 7:12 a.m., wearing the same clothes from last night. I sat at the kitchen counter, sipping my black coffee, watching as she tried to sneak in unnoticed. She froze when she saw me, her blue eyes flickering with something. Guilt? Regret? No, it was something worse. Indifference. You're up early, she said casually, tossing her purse on the couch. I stayed silent, letting the weight of her absence hang in the air. Her fake calmness started to crack. She shifted uncomfortably under my gaze. Where were you? I finally asked, my voice dangerously even. Savannah sighed, rolling her eyes. She was already on the defensive. I told you I was at Lucas's party. It got late so I crashed there. No big deal. No big deal. I exhaled sharply through my nose, gripping my coffee mug. I could feel my patience slipping, burning into something darker. You could have called, I said coldly. She shrugged. I fell asleep. It happens. Lies. All lies. My mind replayed the message from Lucas. Last night was unforgettable. My hands clenched into fists under the counter. She was testing me, seeing if I'd swallow her excuses. I didn't react. I didn't accuse her. Not yet. Because something inside me had already shifted. I wasn't going to beg her for honesty. I wasn't going to argue like a fool. No, I was going to make her regret this. Savannah had no idea, but in that moment she had just declared war. I have to get ready for work, she said, heading toward the bedroom like nothing had happened. I watched her go, my jaw clenched so tight it hurt. Not this time. I grabbed my phone and called Logan Hunt, my best friend since college and a guy who knew how to find things people wanted hidden. Yo, what's up? Logan answered groggily. I need you to do something for me. Pause. Logan was sharp. He could tell from my tone that this wasn't casual. What's going on, man? I inhaled slowly, then said it. The words felt like glass in my throat, but saying them made it real. Savannah cheated on me. Silence. Then a low curse. That bitch. Yeah. I could almost hear Logan sitting up. What do you need? I need proof. I need you to go through her phone records, emails, texts, everything. Logan hesitated. Ty, are you sure? If I find something, there's no going back. I stared at the bedroom door, hearing Savannah humming to herself, as if she hadn't just ripped our marriage apart. Find it? Logan exhaled sharply. All right. Give me a few hours. I hung up, my pulse pounding in my ears. Savannah thought she had won. She thought I was weak. She had no idea that I was about to turn her entire world upside down. I sat at my desk, staring at my phone, waiting for Logan's call. Every passing second felt like a countdown to the moment my life would change forever. Savannah was in the shower, humming like she hadn't just spent the night at her ex's house. My blood boiled at the sound. Then my phone buzzed. Logan. I swiped to answer. Tell me. Logan exhaled sharply. Man, it's bad. I closed my eyes, forcing down the nausea creeping up my throat. I already knew the answer, but I had to hear it. How bad? She's been talking to Lucas for weeks, maybe months. They text constantly. And last night? They weren't just talking. She sent pictures, bro. And they weren't friendly. My grip on the phone tightened until my knuckles turned white. I didn't need details. I had heard enough. You sure? My voice was calm. Too calm. Screenshots don't lie, Logan said. I'm sending them to you now. A moment later, my phone vibrated again. My stomach twisted as I tapped the screen. There it was. The proof. Savannah in our bedroom taking selfies meant for another man. Messages filled with flirty, intimate words. And then, a picture of her in Lucas's bed. The rage inside me was no longer a slow burn. It was an inferno. Savannah had spit on everything we built. And she had done it with a smirk on her face. But if she thought she had won, she had no idea what was coming. I spent the next few hours planning my first strike. I wasn't going to scream or beg. I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction of seeing me broken. I was going to destroy her. First, I started moving my money. Savannah and I shared accounts, but I made sure every single dollar I earned was legally mine. Within minutes, I transferred everything important to a private account. Then I made 2 phone calls. One to my lawyer. One to her parents. Savannah was in the kitchen when I finally spoke. Hey babe. My voice was smooth. Controlled. She turned, eyebrows raised. Oh? How's Lucas? The coffee mug in her hand froze midair. Bingo. It, she stammered. Why would you ask that? I just smiled. I wanted her to feel the fear. I wanted her to realize that the game was over. But here's the real question. Does Savannah even know how deep she's sinking? And for you, the reader, what do you think happens next? Will Savannah try to lie her way out? Or will Tyler pull the rug out from under her before she even knows what hit her? If you're hooked on this revenge story, make sure to stick around for the next chapter. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. Let me know in the comments. What would you do if you were in Tyler's shoes? Now, let's move to chapter 6, where the real revenge begins. Savannah had no idea that I already knew everything. And that was my greatest weapon. While she went about her day texting Lucas in secret, I was 2 steps ahead. My lawyer was already preparing divorce papers. Her parents? Furious. They had agreed to freeze her trust fund. But the real fun? That was coming tonight. I had arranged for a private dinner with our closest friends at a high-end restaurant. And guess what? Lucas would be there too. Savannah thought she was in control. But tonight she was about to learn the truth the hard way. The ultimate betrayal deserves the ultimate revenge. And I was going to enjoy every second of it. Savannah sat on the couch, scrolling through her phone like nothing was wrong. Like she hadn't just burned our marriage to the ground. I had to hand it to her, she was confident. Or maybe just stupid. She had no idea that while she was texting Lucas, I was pulling the strings to completely ruin her life. Tonight was the night. The dinner reservation was set. I had invited our closest mutual friends, the people Savannah always tried to impress. The ones who thought we had the perfect marriage. Lucas? Oh, he was coming too. He had no clue that he was walking into a trap. I made sure the restaurant was one of those high-end places Savannah loved. The kind where people whispered behind champagne glasses when drama unfolded. She was obsessed with keeping up appearances. And that's exactly where I was going to break her. By the end of the night, she wouldn't just be exposed. She would be humiliated. Wear something nice tonight, I told Savannah as I put on my watch. She looked up from her phone, tilting her head. What's the occasion? Just a little dinner with friends. Her lips curled into a smug smile. She thought she was getting away with it. Sounds fun. Who's coming? I shrugged. You'll see. Her eyes sparkled. She thought I was trying to make up for our fight. She had no idea she was walking into her own funeral. When we arrived at the restaurant, the hostess greeted us with a smile. Mr. Grayson, your party is waiting inside. Savannah beamed. She loved the attention. She thought tonight was about her. I placed my hand on her lower back as I led her toward the private dining area. Her heels clicked against the marble floors. The restaurant was buzzing with conversation, but all I could hear was the pounding of my own heartbeat. We stepped inside the private room. And that's when Savannah froze. Her smile vanished. Because sitting at the table, staring right at her, was Lucas. For the first time since this all started, Savannah looked nervous. Good. She turned to me, forcing a laugh that didn't quite reach her eyes. What's he doing here? I pulled out my chair, taking my time. I wanted her to sweat. I figured we should all get together, I said smoothly. Since you and Lucas are so close. Her face drained of color. Lucas shifted in his seat, looking just as uncomfortable. I leaned back, smirking. Time for the final blow. I pulled my phone from my pocket and tapped the screen. A moment later, her own voice filled the room. I miss you, baby. I wish Tyler wasn't so boring. Last night was unforgettable. The room went dead silent. Savannah's jaw dropped. Her fingers trembled on the table. Her perfect little world? Gone. Her friends were staring at her. Lucas looked like he wanted to vanish. And me? I just took a sip of my drink and smiled. Check, please. Savannah sat frozen, her hands clenched on the table. The color had drained from her face. The private dining room, once filled with quiet conversations and clinking glasses, was now dead silent. Her friends stared at her, wide-eyed, waiting for her to say something, anything. Tyler, this isn't what it looks like, she stammered. I let out a low chuckle, leaning back in my chair. Oh really? Because it looks like my wife has been sneaking around with her ex. And I just played the proof for everyone. Lucas shifted in his seat, clearing his throat. Man, this is... I cut him off. Don't dare. He clamped his mouth shut. Savannah looked around, searching for a lifeline. But no one spoke. No one came to her rescue. I stood up, adjusting my watch. Savannah, you wanted to play games? Fine. But you should have been smarter. You should have remembered that I don't lose. She swallowed hard. Tyler, please, we can talk about this in private. I grabbed the divorce papers from my coat pocket and dropped them on the table. No need. It's already over. She gasped, her eyes flicking to the papers. Checkmate. The ride home was silent. Savannah sat in the passenger seat, staring out the window. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She was in shock. Good. Because this was only the beginning. When we pulled into the driveway, she finally spoke. You planned all of this, didn't you? I cut the engine and turned to her, meeting her eyes. I told you. I don't lose. She let out a shaky breath. You humiliated me, Tyler. I laughed coldly. No, Savannah. You did that to yourself. You just didn't expect to get caught. She reached for the door handle, but I stopped her with one last bombshell. Oh, and by the way, your parents know everything. They froze your trust fund this morning. Her head snapped toward me, pure panic flashing in her eyes. You're lying, she whispered. I smirked. Guess you'll find out soon enough. She stormed inside, slamming the door behind her. I just stood there, breathing in the night air, knowing her perfect little world was already crumbling. And I wasn't even done yet. Savannah checked her phone the next morning, and I saw it the moment reality hit her. Her trust fund? Gone. Her father? Not answering her calls. Her friends? Completely silent. Her whole life had been built on comfort and status, but I had just ripped all of that away. She spun to face me in the kitchen, pure desperation in her eyes. You had no right to call my parents, she snapped. I calmly sipped my coffee. I had every right. You humiliated me first. Now it's your turn. Her face twisted in anger. You're punishing me for one mistake. I set my mug down. A mistake. I pulled my phone from my pocket and scrolled through the dozens of texts Logan had dug up. I tossed it on the counter. You made this mistake for months. She bit her lip, but I could see the truth sinking in. She had no defense. What do you want from me? She whispered. I leaned forward, my voice ice cold. I already got what I wanted. You lost. She blinked rapidly, her breathing shaky. For the first time she looked truly afraid. Because she knew there was no way out. Savannah stood in the kitchen, gripping the edge of the counter like it was the only thing keeping her upright. Her chest rose and fell rapidly as my words sank in. You lost. She had spent months sneaking around, thinking I was some clueless, boring husband. She had no idea I had been setting her up the entire time. Her lips parted, but nothing came out. She was cornered and she knew it. Tyler. I held up a hand, cutting her off. Don't. Just don't. I turned away, grabbed my car keys, and walked out the front door, leaving her standing there in the wreckage of her own choices. I drove straight to Logan's apartment. He had been instrumental in gathering the proof, and I knew he'd want an update. When I walked in, Logan was already sitting at his desk, typing away on his laptop. "So, how'd it go?" he asked without looking up. I dropped onto the couch. "She's still in shock. But it's sinking in." Logan smirked. "Good. She deserves to feel every bit of that betrayal." I ran a hand through my hair, exhaling. "She's going to try something, Logan. She won't just sit back and let this happen." Logan leaned back in his chair, cracking his knuckles. I figured. That's why I took the liberty of digging a little deeper. I frowned. "Deeper?" He spun his laptop around. My stomach clenched at what I saw. Bank statements. Text records. Evidence of Savannah siphoning money from our joint account for months. And worse? She had been trying to put our house in her name alone. I gripped the armrest of the couch so hard my knuckles turned white. She really thought she could screw me over financially while cheating on me? I growled. Logan chuckled. Guess she forgot who she was messing with. My jaw clenched. This wasn't over. If Savannah wanted to play dirty, I'd bury her in the mud. I got back home late that night, fully expecting to find Savannah curled up in bed, crying about her perfect little life falling apart. Instead, she was sitting in the living room with a glass of wine. "You're late," she said casually, swirling the wine in her glass. I closed the door behind me, watching her carefully. "Didn't realize I had a curfew," I shot back. She exhaled through her nose, setting the glass down. "Tyler, we need to talk." I almost laughed. "Oh, now you want to talk?" She folded her arms. "I made a mistake, okay? But do you really have to destroy me for it?" I stared at her, my fists clenching at my sides. "You didn't just make a mistake, Savannah. You made a series of choices. Over and over again." I stepped closer, lowering my voice. "You thought I was too stupid to figure it out? Too weak to do anything about it?" Her eyes flickered. She knew I was right. "We can fix this," she whispered, reaching for my hand. I pulled back. "Fix what?" "There's nothing left to fix." Her face twisted in desperation. "Tyler, I don't love him. It was just stupid fun." I scoffed. "Funny. You didn't look like you were having stupid fun when you were wiring money from our account into your private one." Her entire body stiffened. "What are you talking about?" she asked, her voice suddenly tight. I smirked. "Logan found everything. The fake accounts, the property transfer attempt. I know it all, Savannah." Her hands trembled as she grabbed the wine glass, trying to hide her panic. "You're lying." I leaned in, lowering my voice to a whisper. "Try me." She swallowed hard, but she had nothing left to say. Because we both knew I wasn't the liar in this marriage. The next morning, I made one final call to my lawyer. "It's time," I said simply. I had been preparing for this for weeks, moving assets, cutting Savannah off from every financial and legal connection she had to me. By the end of the day, Savannah would have nothing. The lawyer exhaled. "All right. The final paperwork will be filed today. You'll be legally separated within hours." A weight lifted off my chest. This was it. Savannah Reed had officially lost everything. I stepped out of my car, walking into my office. My phone buzzed in my pocket and I pulled it out. A message from Savannah. "Savannah, we need to talk. Please don't do this. Let's fix things." I didn't respond. She wasn't sorry for what she did. She was sorry she got caught. I slid my phone back into my pocket and walked inside. Savannah had burned this marriage to the ground. Now she could live in the ashes. Savannah's text wasn't a surprise. It was predictable. After everything, she still thought she had a chance to fix things. To manipulate me into forgiving her. She had no idea that I had moved past anger. I wasn't hurt anymore. I wasn't even furious. I was just done. I ignored the message and continued my day. But Savannah? She wasn't about to give up that easily. That evening, as I pulled into the driveway, I noticed something unusual. Savannah's car was still parked, but she wasn't inside. Instead, she was sitting on the front steps, hugging her knees, waiting for me. I killed the engine and stepped out. She lifted her head, her mascara smudged from either crying or stress. Probably both. "You didn't answer my text," she said quietly. I locked the car. I didn't think it required a response. She stood up quickly. "Tyler, please, can we just talk?" I let out a slow breath, forcing myself to remain calm. She was trying to play the victim now. "Talk about what, Savannah?" I folded my arms. "How you spent months lying. How you emptied accounts behind my back. Or maybe about how you tried to put the house in your name." Her mouth opened, but no words came out. "That's what I thought." I moved past her, unlocking the front door. Before I could step inside, her voice cracked. I messed up, okay? I was stupid. But do you really have to destroy me for it? I turned, looking her dead in the eye. You destroyed yourself, Savannah. I just let you. The way her lips trembled told me she finally understood. She wasn't getting out of this. Savannah was a lot of things: selfish, entitled, arrogant. But she wasn't stupid. She knew that she was running out of options. And I knew she'd try one last trick to save herself. I wasn't wrong. The next morning, I woke up to the smell of coffee and pancakes. For a split second, my mind almost tricked me into thinking it was a normal morning, before I remembered the truth. Savannah had cheated, lied, stole money, and humiliated me. And now she was cooking breakfast like we were still a happy couple. I stepped into the kitchen and saw her standing at the stove, flipping pancakes onto a plate. She turned with a soft smile, her hair tied up, wearing the same oversized hoodie she used to wear when we first moved in together. A pathetic attempt at nostalgia. Good morning, she said softly, setting a plate down. I just stared at her. What is this? She bit her lip. I thought maybe we could talk? Eat together? I let out a humorless chuckle. Oh, now you want to act like a wife? Her smile faltered. Tyler, please. I don't want us to end like this. I pulled out a chair, sitting down. And how exactly do you want us to end, Savannah? I leaned forward. You want me to pretend you didn't betray me? You want me to believe you made a mistake after you planned this for months? Her hands trembled as she put the coffee mug in front of me. I just want another chance. I stared at her. She was seriously delusional. There is no chance, Savannah. I picked up the divorce papers from the counter and dropped them next to my plate. This is the only thing left between us. Her face crumpled. She finally realized she couldn't fix this. She had already lost everything. The next few days, Savannah tried to act normal. She still lived in the house, but the air between us was ice cold. I could tell she was stalling, trying to figure out her next move. She wasn't used to being powerless, and I wasn't about to give her that power back. I took a sip of my morning coffee as I scrolled through my phone. Logan had sent me a new message. Logan, dude, you're gonna love this. Check the news. I frowned, clicking the link he attached. The second I saw the headline, a slow smirk spread across my face. Scandal. Lucas Cole fired after leaked messages expose workplace affair. It was all over social media. Lucas had been using his position at work to sleep with employees, and Savannah wasn't the only one. The messages? Someone had leaked them anonymously. That someone was me. I leaned back in my chair, exhaling in satisfaction. Savannah had ruined my life for Lucas. And now, he had no job, no status, no money. Savannah stormed into the room minutes later, her phone in hand, her face pale. Did you do this? She hissed. I took another sip of coffee. Do what? She threw her phone onto the table. Lucas lost everything. Someone leaked his texts. I cut her off with a smirk. Karma's a bitch, huh? Her lips trembled. Reality was hitting her all at once. Lucas was done. She was alone. And I was moving on. You don't have to do this, she whispered, her voice cracking. I met her gaze. Oh, Savannah. I'm just getting started. Savannah was spiraling. After Lucas's downfall, she had no safety net left. The man she threw everything away for? Gone. The cushy lifestyle she always relied on? Shattered. Her reputation? Ruined. But the best part? She knew it was all my doing. And that made every second of this worth it. The morning after the Lucas scandal broke, Savannah barely came out of the bedroom. I heard her pacing. Saw her phone lighting up with unread messages. She was scrambling, probably trying to fix the mess she had created. She thought she could handle the consequences of her actions. She was wrong. By the afternoon, I heard the sound of a suitcase being dragged across the floor. I walked into the hallway and found her near the door, her bags packed. Her face was pale, her eyes swollen like she had been crying. I'm leaving, she announced, her voice small. I raised an eyebrow. Where exactly are you planning to go? Her throat bobbed as she swallowed. My parents will help me. I laughed coldly. Oh really? You mean the same parents who cut you off the second they found out you were screwing around behind my back? Her expression flickered with panic. I'll figure something out, she muttered. No, you won't, I said, stepping forward. You're done, Savannah. You don't have a job. Your trust fund is locked. Lucas isn't going to bail you out. And your friends? They were only around because of your money. You have nothing. Her eyes welled up with tears. Why are you doing this? She whispered. I tilted my head, pretending to think. Because you spent months making me feel like I wasn't good enough. Like I was just some boring husband you could cheat on and discard. But guess what? I took another step forward, lowering my voice. I'm not the one who got discarded, Savannah. You are. She let out a strangled sob and grabbed her bags, storming out of the house. As she disappeared down the driveway, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Savannah Reed was finally out of my life. But I wasn't done yet. I sat on my balcony that night, whiskey in hand, watching the city lights flicker in the distance. It was over. The wife who betrayed me was gone. The man she risked it all for was ruined. Everything had played out exactly as I planned. And now, I was finally free. But let's take a second to talk about what just happened. Savannah never thought her actions would have consequences. She assumed I would be too weak to do anything. She assumed Lucas would take care of her. But in the end, karma hit her harder than she ever imagined. Now let me ask you something. If you were in my shoes, would you have done the same? Or would you have let her get away with it? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you've been hooked on this revenge story, make sure you're following because the final chapters are going to be even more brutal. Trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next. Now let's move to chapter 21. Savannah might be out of my house, but she's not out of my life just yet. Because karma isn't quite finished with her. Savannah thought leaving would end the nightmare. She thought she could just walk away, start fresh, and pretend none of this ever happened. But she had one final lesson to learn. You don't get to betray people and walk away unscathed. 2 days after she left, I got a call from Logan. Dude, you need to check Savannah's socials. I frowned. Why? Just do it. I hung up and opened Instagram. And then I grinned. Savannah had posted a story. A selfie standing in front of a motel. The cheap kind. The caption? Starting over. New beginnings. I got this. I chuckled, shaking my head. She had nowhere to go. No money. No home. No job. The woman who had once looked down on everyone beneath her was now living in a rundown motel, struggling to survive. Karma had finally devoured her whole. Savannah had hit rock bottom. I didn't need to check her social media to know that. She had spent years building her identity around wealth, status, and control. And now, she had none of it. She had betrayed me, thinking she could move on to something better. But instead, she had lost everything. And the best part? She had no one to blame but herself. I didn't hear from her for a while after she left. No texts. No phone calls. No desperate emails. But then, on a cold Sunday evening, she showed up at my doorstep. I opened the door and found her standing there, wrapped in an old coat, her makeup smeared, her hair a mess. She looked like a ghost of the woman she used to be. Tyler, she breathed, her voice trembling. Can we talk? I crossed my arms, leaning against the doorframe. Talk about what? She swallowed hard. I just need a place to stay. Just for a few days. I almost laughed. This woman, the same woman who threw our marriage away for Lucas, who lied and manipulated, who called me boring behind my back, was now standing on my doorstep, begging for help. You want me to take you in? I asked, arching a brow. Her lower lip trembled. She was desperate. I have nowhere else to go, she whispered. Please. For a moment, I just stared at her. She wasn't just asking for a place to stay. She was asking for forgiveness. She was asking for me to pretend that none of it had happened. But I wasn't that man anymore. I wasn't going to be her backup plan. I let out a slow breath and stepped back. Savannah, I said, my voice calm but firm. You made your choice. Now live with it. Her eyes widened. Tyler, please? I shook my head. Goodbye, Savannah. And then, I shut the door in her face. I heard her let out a broken sob. But I didn't feel sorry for her. She was finally experiencing the consequences of her own actions. For the first time in months, I felt free. Savannah was finally out of my life for good. No more lies. No more manipulation. No more betrayal. Just me and my future. And for the first time in a long time, I actually felt excited about what came next. I walked into Logan's apartment that evening. He had a beer in his hand watching the game, but when he saw me, he grinned. Damn. You look like a man who just got rid of a curse. I smirked, grabbing a beer from his fridge. That's one way to put it. He leaned forward. So, she actually showed up at your place? I nodded, begging for help. Can you believe that? Logan whistled. Karma's a funny thing, man. She really thought she could have it all. And now she's living in a motel, broke and alone. I took a sip of my beer, letting his words sink in. Yeah, Karma really was a beautiful thing. But I wasn't going to waste another second thinking about her. Savannah was the past. And I was finally ready for the future. The weight of the past was gone. For months, I had been living in a constant storm, drowning in the betrayal of the woman I once loved. I had lost sleep, lost trust, lost myself. But standing here now, looking out over the skyline of the city, I felt something I hadn't in a long time. Savannah Reed was no longer a part of my life. Her lies, her deceit, her selfishness, all of it had finally come full circle. She had lost everything. And I had won. That morning I stood in my office, flipping through the final divorce papers. The ink was dry. The deal was sealed. I was officially free. I leaned back in my chair, exhaling deeply. It was over. No more games. No more power struggles. Just me, my future, and a life that no longer revolved around the toxic woman who had thought she could destroy me. A slow smirk spread across my lips. She thought she could break me. Instead, she had built me into something stronger. That evening, Logan and I sat on the rooftop of my new apartment, drinking whiskey as the sun set. So what now? He asked, swirling the amber liquid in his glass. I took a slow sip, letting the warmth settle in my chest. Now, I repeated, staring at the city below. Now I live. Logan grinned. Damn right. I looked up at the sky, my past officially buried beneath the weight of my new beginning. For the first time in years, the future actually looked good. And I was ready for it. And just like that, Savannah got what she deserved. Tyler didn't just survive. He thrived. Because in the end, the best revenge isn't anger. It's moving on and becoming untouchable. But now I have a question for you. If you were in Tyler's shoes, would you have done anything differently? Let's talk about it in the comments. Backhand index pointing down. And if you loved this wild, emotional, revenge-filled ride, don't forget to like this story if you enjoyed watching karma do its thing. Subscribe for more stories packed with betrayal, justice, and brutal payback. Share this with someone who loves a good revenge story. Because trust me, this is just the beginning. The end.